Jody Sub-Zero here, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about some PlayStation 4 games that I find to be underrated. In fact, some of these, actually all these games are JRPGs. It's 5 games in total. One of them is digital, the other 4 are physical, and I just want to talk about these games because I don't think I've ever talked about these games on the channel, and I think it's about time I talk about these games that I've completed and absolutely loved. Now, some of these games are rather popular, but the sequels or any other entries in the series may have overshadowed these entries. So, let's get it started, shall we? First game that I want to talk about is a game that I've played in 2020 during the lockdown phase of our lives. Trials of Mana. Trials of Mana is a remake. I believe the Japanese title is called Seiken Densetsu 3. I remember this was a big deal on the Super Nintendo, especially in the fan translation scene. When this game came out, everybody that was making content on underrated, unknown Super Nintendo, Super Famicom games, they mentioned Seiken Densetsu 3. I did play quite a bit of it. In fact, my sister was probably almost done with the game, if not completed it, on SNES 9X. But me personally, I didn't really get to play too much of it via emulation. Lucky for us, we got a remake. And I'm going to tell you this right now. This remake is very solid. I remember playing Final Fantasy VII Remake prior to this, and while this is no Final Fantasy VII in terms of the weight the name holds in the JRPG scene, this is a very solid game. First off, you're picking 3 characters, which means there's a lot of replayability. Each character plays relatively different from one another, and the game has some of the worst voice acting I've ever heard.
No, don't bother her, but I'll play with you.
Story-wise, I'm not gonna lie to you, this is not really anything to write home about, but everyone has their own motives for trying to save the world, I guess. Duran, who's the guy that I picked, is looking for some magician dude. I had Angela the Magician along my side, along with Charlotte the Cleric. I don't remember Charlotte's motives here, but I do remember Angela being pretty cool because what's happening is that her mom seems to be possessed by something. She got kicked out of the castle, and she's this rich, spoiled, hot chick. If I remember correctly, I don't believe Angela was very good at magic initially. I started to ask myself, why the hell did I pick her? Because she's just doing nothing but melee attacks, and they're way weaker than Duran's. But as you progress through the game, Angela becomes an entirely different character. She will fucking destroy you with all her spells. I used her a lot more than Duran, I'll tell you that. Going back to Charlotte, I don't remember anything about Charlotte, but I do know that she was great help. You know, Trials of Mana may not have the best graphics, and it may not have the best story, but this is a classic RPG, JRPG at its finest. You're going from town to town, dungeon to dungeon, fighting these cool bosses, listening to some rather cool tunes. They did a good job with the remake. I'm gonna mention a game here that some people don't consider underrated, mostly because it sold quite well. But the reason why I have to talk about it is because I feel like not enough people have played it. My brother, for instance, is a huge JRPG guy. He grew up playing the same games as me, and he has not played this, and I don't know why. I begged him to play it, and I think it's time to convince him. 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. Let me give you a little bit of backstory. I got this game around my birthday. I told myself I'll get it to support it because I'm a huge fan of like mecha-esque anime. I'm a ginormous Eva fan. I will fight you if you say the Rebuild movies were bad. I love Eva, I really do. Like, it's just like one of my favorite series of all time. I am a fan of Gundam. Love Iron-Blooded Orphans. I love Seed. I love the Unicorn series, movies, OVAs, because it's what got me into the original series, or rather the original trilogy of movies that condensed the original series into 3 cool movies. I also love Double O. Double O movie was freaking awesome. I don't care what anybody says. But I have very specific reasons why I would turn it off. So if an anime has mecha in CG, chances are I'm turning it off. There's very few exceptions, but I'm probably turning it off if I see an animated character inside a CGI mech. I just can't do it. When I saw this game and I saw the amount of effort that was put into the graphics, I said, okay, I have to support it. I just really do. I'll try to keep it spoiler free and give you some of the premise. As the title suggests, 13 Sentinels begins with choosing a character, and there's 13 in total. They all have a different premise, different story, and eventually they all intersect. It plays very much like an anime or a manga where there's different chapters or episodes with a cliffhanger. And these cliffhangers feed you into other episodes that you can choose freely from or directly tie to one another, if that makes any sense. Some of the characters have very strange stories, sometimes has you asking, how is this even possible? For one, there's a character directly from World War II. This character somehow is seeing the Sentinels, which are the mechs in this game, come into his hometown being utilized in the war. And you're wondering, wait a minute, this Sentinel looks exactly like it does in modern day.
What is that? Another American weapon?
I'm scared.
Then there's another character who's, I guess, your typical bully in his storyline. He's in what I would call a Groundhog's Day-like event. He has a certain amount of time to stop an accident. This Groundhog's Day set of events is unlike any other characters that you can select. Then there's another character, has an idol talking to him through the TV. And mind you, it's the 80s when this is occurring. Then you find yourself unraveling some pretty strange things about your world. Again, don't want to spoil too much, but this is practically a visual novel, a side-scrolling one. Very much like a point-and-click adventure, even, with a tad bit of real-time strategy elements. And by that, I mean the combat system. Visually speaking, may not be for everyone initially. As you level up your mechs, gain new melee attacks, new missiles that you can launch, like armor-piercing bullets, you start to see that the aliens, yes, the aliens that are invading your world, are rather fun to kill. You know, this game has probably the best sound effects I've heard on the PlayStation 4. Some of the sound effects that you hear as you're fighting these enemies, it really makes up for the lack of visual appeal for many.
Hit confirmed. That easy.
I don't know what it is, but personally I was never bothered by the lack of visual flair. I don't know if it's because we get to see our characters in the cockpit butt naked. I really love the character designs in this game. Like, these character designs, the artwork is absolutely beautiful. And the music, God, the music. Listen, to me, one of the rules of being a great JRPG is having some freaking banger music, and this game succeeds in every way. 13 Sentinels, again, I don't want to spoil very much, but it is a game that you must set aside about 30 to 40 hours. If you're a fan of anime, I think you should really check this out. And even if you're not a fan of anime and you're just a fan of sci-fi storytelling, this is the game for you. Trust me. 30 to 40 hours, by the time it ends, you're going to probably say this is the greatest game ever made. Next game I want to talk about is a game that I say is not for everyone, but I'm going to recommend it anyway because this game did not sell very well, just like its predecessor. Neo: The World Ends With You. This game, I did not expect this to be anywhere near as good as the first one. In fact, I love it as much as the first one. I remember when I first bought The World Ends With You. Took me a little bit to get into it, maybe 5 hours or so. And that was a long time ago. I believe it came out in 2008. I got maybe about 30 hours in. Some little piece of shit kid wiped my save file. It's funny because the game, when you're wiping the save file, it asks you about 2-3 times, are you sure you want to delete it? And this cocksucker fucking did it. It started a new save file, and about 70-80 hours later, I was thinking about it every single moment a new RPG was booted up, because I would always tell myself, I don't love it as much as The World Ends With You. I know, it's crazy, right? Like, a handheld game really had that hold on me. So when I saw that Square Enix announced Neo, The World Ends With You, I was very skeptical. I was wondering, okay, how are they going to do this? Like, there's no touchscreen. You know, they've tried bringing the original game over to the Switch, to iPhones. I think it's on Steam. I don't know. All I know is that they made an attempt consolidating his gameplay from a dual screen to single screen gameplay. Personally, didn't like it. But Neo The World Ends With You decided to just change the combat system entirely and have a massive shit show.
Fine, I'll integrate.
A shit show of stuff happening on screen, and that's what makes it so freaking great. First things first, the game's premise is exactly like the first one. You're in this game that you are participating in because you're dead. It's 7 days. After 7 days, of course, haha, joke's on you. It's not over. It's the same shit as the first one, but the cast of characters are different. We have a new cast. I'm gonna have to say that the cast of characters in this game really surprised me. I was not expecting them to be as good as they were, at least the starting cast. And Rindo has his own problems, which I won't spoil. The supporting cast really grounds him. The Wicked Twisters really feel like a realistic group of friends. Fret, for instance, is the guy that you want by your side at all times. Then we also have Shoka. She's such a bitch in the beginning, but again, as you progress through the game, you start to be like, you know what? I fucks with her. She's really cool. And then, of course, we have the mathematician Sho. It was so freaking cool playing as him. I thought it was just so cool playing as him.
Talk about worthless trash.
And again, I'm not going to spoil the game, but as you progress through the game, the battles just become insane. At first, it seems very simple, especially with like the pins and how limited you can use them because you're just using buttons compared to the originals like touchpad and D-pad controls. But the way you go about combining characters' abilities and pins really, really, really makes all the difference.
Perfect timing! Follow me, yo!
The two have such a unique combat system that going back and forth between the two doesn't hurt the series at all. This game, in my opinion, is probably one of the best games I've played in, like, ever. I know, I'm very biased. I really love The World Ends With You as a whole, but this duology of games is essential to any JRPG fan. And while I'm not going to say that you're going to get the most out of it if you just play Neo without playing the original, which I highly recommend playing the original first, just to get the most out of it, I still say playing Neo The World Ends With You is fun enough. The story warmed me up inside by Endgame. It really did. It's freaking awesome.
Oh yeah! Looking good, brother! Keep it up, Fred! Will do, speed buddy! It's showtime!
Next game that I want to talk about is a digital game that is overshadowed by a sequel, and I'm talking about Star Ocean First Departure R. Let me get this out the way. I have a lot of memories I would say are sad, but also very happy, because when this game came out, my son was very sick, and while I was home missing weeks of work, and while he was sleeping, I was playing the shit out of Star Ocean First Departure R. I was grinding, I was following guides, I was getting the most out of that game. This came at a time where JRPGs weren't really grabbing my attention. First Departure R just reminded me, hey, you remember those cool RPGs from back in the day? Well, yeah, we're just gonna bring it back, and here it is. Quality of life improvements and everything. You know, First Departure R has probably some of the best gameplay ever, not including Second Evolution or Second Story. Let's just get that out the way right now. If you played Second Story, chances are you're gonna think this is a downgrade. I did play the Super Nintendo version, the Super Famicom fan translation. Music is the same, characters are there, it just plays like Second Story. Let me try to sell the game to you guys that are not familiar with the Star Ocean series. Star Ocean is a sci-fi JRPG, but it's grounded in a high fantasy setting. In this game, you use Roderick and company. You're kind of like these elves, cat people, dog people. I don't know what they are. You're using these characters and you just have swords and shields, and bam, all of a sudden you're introduced to these characters that they seem from the far future, but in reality they're just from another world, aka another planet. They traveled there through their ship. They tell you about this disease and what's caused it, and it's your job to go through time and space to stop this disease. Yeah, time and space. Story is rather ridiculous, I'm not gonna lie to you. I can't tell you the name of the bad guy. I can't tell you what really happens, but what I will tell you is that the dungeons are hella fun. Combat is freaking fun as hell. Leveling up is addicting. Getting new gear, cooking, reading, doing all these weird things to just make your character really strong. And by the way, there's a classic world map that you can traverse. The classic world map is 3D. You're using a sprite-based character. And it's really cool, man. This game is just fucking awesome. I love this game. You have these cool characters that join your party. Like there's Werewolf Dude. There's this swordsman rival that joins you as well. Some angel-like person that came from an ice cube and her asshole brother. There's even a stalker that's apparently in all the games. I remember her from part 3 as the item crafting girl.
Wonder where all the hunks are. Certainly not here.
Combat is fast, it's furious, and you can learn so many skills and combos that, the amount of battles that you will find yourself having in this game, you'll never get bored of it. The only thing that kind of sucks, I'm not gonna lie, is that the spells take a long time to see. But yeah, Star Ocean, I don't believe that it has a physical release, but you know, I really enjoy this game. This is a game that I find to be not as long as other RPGs, but it's a palatable length. And I think that's what made it so enjoyable, because I clocked a shit ton of hours and I nearly 100% of the game. So, Star Ocean First Departure R, check it out.
放っておきましょう。
手間をかけさせないで。
総流世界山総流派総流世界山
サンダークラウド。
And the last game that I want to talk about is another sequel, prequel. It's a duology of games. In fact, this is probably top 5 games of all time. It might even be number 1, I'll be honest with you. Nier Replicant. Nier Automata, when it came out in 2017, it was a big deal. And I remember buying it when it came out and thinking, why did I buy this game? I didn't even play the original. Am I gonna miss anything? And they say, no, it's like Final Fantasy. You don't have to play the original to get this. This is its own story. Never got to it. I think I played it maybe 5 minutes, turned it off, never played it again. Fast forward, they announced the ridiculous name that is Nier Replicant version 1.22474487139, which I believe means like the square root of like 1.2 or some shit like that, or 2, I don't fucking know, something like that. But anyway, the game came out and I bought it. I said, okay, this was a time when I would say that I had probably the greatest schedule of all time with work. Prior to working in the IT department. I used to work in human resources, and the job was like a 5-minute walk from where I lived. It was like an 8 to 4 schedule. I was home every day by like 4:15. It was insane. I would go home, I would pop this in, and I would always fall asleep playing the game, because every time I entered the library, it was so soothing. The music was so soothing that I would just fall asleep. I decided, okay, you know what? I'm just going to make sure that I have some coffee when I play this game. Now, Replicant is not for everyone, but hear me out. I know this is going to sound strange. Push through the game enough, and you will be rewarded greatly. The music in this game is everything. The world map music, library music, the dungeon music. I know I keep saying this over and over again, and you're tired of fucking hearing it. Like, the music in this game speaks to my soul. It speaks to me as a fucking human being. Everything about the music just wraps around me and tells me how fucking awesome it is. I don't know what it is. I can't freaking describe it, but the music in this game is on another level. And as a result, it really amplifies everything else. Amplifies the boss battles, like the graphics, which aren't even that great, to be honest. It makes the graphics just have a certain feel to them. I don't know what it is, man. I just can't freaking put them into words. There's this part when you go inside the ship and you're like talking to like this girl there. It's like a haunted ship. Again, don't want to spoil anything. Just the atmosphere. Jesus Christ, man. The amount of gameplay variety in this is... There's a part where I swear you're gonna think you're playing Resident Evil. Then there's another part where you're going inside a pen and paper RPG. I'm being serious. There's a part where I'm reading the game and I'm like, okay, let me just read this. You go inside the forest, you read, and then you're presented these choices. And I'm like, okay. And guess what? 40 minutes later, I was still fucking reading. I couldn't believe it. And then you realize that you could get game over. I'm telling you, it's freaking wild. There's another part where you're playing this top-down dungeon. Like you're playing a Diablo-esque game. Oh my god, I love this game. I'm telling you, this game is just so good. And while there are some major drawbacks, some of the drawbacks are just, I feel everybody needs to experience it. Just like in life, I feel like in life, there's so many beautiful things about our life. But there's so much shitty things that also goes along with it that everybody knows and complains about occasionally, or maybe not. Maybe they just don't complain about it because it's fucking life. And you just have to experience it. I feel this is the same thing. Like the fact that you have to play the game several times to see it through to the very end. I feel like ending is not the right way to describe different playthroughs that you're doing in this game. Think of it like this. There's about 5 or 6 endings, and ending 1 is not an ending. It just means chapter 1 is over. Let's move on to the next. That's all it is.
Don't let your guard down. I guess that was a tad obvious.
And there you have it, guys. I'm going to end it here. So what are some of the RPGs that you guys feel are underrated on PS4? Just let me know. Later, guys.